I'm here to talk to you today about Eleotin products by Eastwood Biomedical. First, I'm going to give you a little history about myself. 10.5 years ago, I was in an incident where I had a lot of injuries. I had 2 broken ribs, punctured lung, ruptured gallbladder, ruptured intestine, cracked pelvic bone, some spinal cord damage, a few broken teeth. I ended up going into a hospital, VA hospital, having 9 surgeries. And afterwards, of course, they turned me over to the medical doctors for treatments on various different issues I was having afterwards, including the fact being they claimed my blood sugars were too high. They were only at 140 at that time. My A1C was normal at that time, but they started giving me insulin. And with that, I started getting side effects, and I had to come off of it. But by the time I was done taking it, my blood sugars were up to over 200. And by then, they needed to do something, so they put me on metformin. I had all kinds of worse side effects with that, including partial paralysis of my face at one point. Things were continuing to deteriorate. My blood sugars were up over 250 at that point. My A1C was getting worse. And also I was getting problems with my blood pressure, so they gave me lisinopril, which I also started getting side effects from that as well. So I had to quit taking that. But I knew about Eleotin products from years before. I had recommended it to a few people that tried it, and it helped them with their type 2 diabetes. And so I knew the product worked. At the time, the situation, I didn't have any money. It took me a few years to finally get my first order, and a couple months ago I received that and started taking it. And I'm here to talk to you about the unbelievably amazing results I had. I mean, I can't say enough good things about these products. I started off with a cleanse that they had, this Calamira by Eleotin, and this is a cleansing product that helped get rid of a lot of those lingering issues I was having from the pharmaceuticals I had been on before. The various chemicals, cleanse all that stuff out. From there, I started taking Eleotin Platinum Tea, which includes the white tea and the gray tea. And it also includes the Bentley formula, which basically supercharges the results that you get from the tea. And with this tea, I was getting side effects as well, but they weren't bad side effects. These were actually good side effects. I'm going to start with some of the simple ones. Like, for example, today it's 81 degrees out. It's 50% humidity. I don't have any air conditioning on or any fan running or anything. Just my window is open. There's a slight breeze coming through. Now, before I started taking Eleotin products, when it would hit 81 degrees and we'd have this high humidity like this, I would look like I just came from the gym. My shirt would be soaked. I would be just completely covered like I just came out of the shower and I was looking for a towel or something. It was bad. Now it's like I might have a few beads of sweat here and there, but that's normal with this type of weather. It's not extremely excessive compared to what it was. My hair, it's like I always keep it short ever since I was in the military at one point, and I always do the buzz cut afterwards. But the difference between before Eleotin and after, I do still have a few gray hairs, but before I started taking Eleotin, I had gray hairs about where my 3 fingers are above my ear. That was all gray. I mean, you couldn't even really see any of my natural color in my hair anymore. The top was getting so thin that it almost looked like I was going to be bald within 2 years. This is about twice as much hair as I had before. If that's a side effect, sign me up all day long, every day. Beyond that, I mean, getting into a few bigger things here. When you get into type 2 diabetes and blood pressure issues, your vision starts to become a major factor. I was getting trouble where I have just these little notes that are written on this pad here, and I'm able to put this down here below me and I can still read it at this point. Whereas a couple of months ago, it didn't matter if it was 6 inches in front of my face or 2 feet away from me. I could only barely read if something was about 18 inches from me. Now I can read if it's 6 inches from me, or if I can put it about this little pad with the small print that I do, I can still read that from about 4 feet away. And before Eleotin, I couldn't do that anymore because things were getting so bad. I also had, I talked about how I had spinal cord damage. I had no feeling from my knees down. I mean, I could feel like when they do the reflexes on your knees, where they tap on that, but anything below that, they were trying with needles at the hospital. They couldn't feel, I wouldn't feel anything in my feet, my calf muscles, anything from there down. About 3 weeks into drinking Eleotin Platinum tea, all of a sudden one day I took off my shoes and I must have tracked in a small rock with my hiking boots, and I stepped on it and I had pain in my foot, and it was, at first it was like such a shocking thing because it's been over a decade since I've been able to feel anything in my feet. And again, if this is a side effect, I mean, you can't ask for a better thing than that, to be able to have things regenerate that way. As far as I also had pain in my hip, which again, there I had, a complete feeling and everything. But, walking to and from the store every day, the nearest grocery store is about 3/4 of a mile away. And the pain in my hip was so bad, I couldn't actually put one foot in front of the other one. I could get as far as putting my heel up next to my toes of my other foot, but my stride couldn't go any further than that because the pain would be too much. Now I've gained about 6 inches in my stride. I can actually have a few inches gap between the toe of my one foot. My heel gets that much farther in front of my toes, and I couldn't do that before. I'm in an apartment where I'm on the 3rd floor. There's no elevator, and going up and down the steps, I had to, when I first moved in, I couldn't climb the steps at all. Moving things in, I had to bring them up, put them on one step, and then move myself up the stairs a little bit, and then move the item up by sitting on the stairs and going up backwards that way. Eventually I kind of I got to a point where I could go, because my left leg was okay, I could put that up one stair, and eventually got it to where I could get up the stairs that way. But now I can actually go up the stairs, and I barely use the handrail now. I can, it's still painful there, but it's maybe 20% of the pain that I had before. So I can actually get up and down the stairs now, almost like a normal person. I mean, it's not quite there, but it's such an improvement. I can't even express just how much of a difference it's been. I've also cut the amount of time that it takes me to get to and from the store. Now I can do it in about half the time. It used to take me in a ballpark of about 2 hours for a round trip, just going 3/4 mile and back, plus the shopping time. Now it takes me a little over an hour, and so that's a huge change, especially living in these northern climates here like I do. You get extreme cold in the winter. We do get summer here where it gets to be over 100 degrees at times. And also getting more into with the type 2 diabetes, they talk about things like insulin resistance is a big buzz term nowadays. Side effect, again, I've lost about 15 pounds in the past 2 months, and the only thing I've really changed is drinking Eleotin and the tea that I have. That's a massive change, just for not really doing anything else. I'm not exercising anymore than I was before. It's just the walking to and from the store, but the walking, like I said, is getting a lot easier. The big numbers, as I mentioned before, I went into the VA hospital with blood sugars that were about 140 at the time. After taking some of the pills about a year ago, I was around 200, 220 for blood sugars, and they continued to get worse, whereas this year they got up to where the month before I took Eleotin, because I'd quit testing for a while, The month before I took Eleotin, my blood sugars averaged between 340 and 360. And after 2 months of drinking Eleotin tea, they're still not perfect, but the massive drop is this past week, my highest number was 215 for my blood sugars. I do not have an A1C number update. For me to do that, I don't have anything to test that at home. I have to go to the hospital to do that, and trying to get an appointment since all the COVID things happened. I have not been able to get into an appointment. But my last A1C was getting pretty bad, but I have to imagine with blood sugars that went up, by more than 100, by like 140 points over what I was doing before for my last test, it had to have gotten worse. But I imagine with the Eleotin, it's going to be better. Because my blood sugars now are lower than the last time I tested at the VA hospital, so I'd imagine that the A1C has come down as well. Blood pressure. My blood pressure, I looked up online because I had gone to a dentist and they wouldn't work on me because of how bad my blood pressure was. They told me come back when that's down. Online it says anything, because they have the two different numbers there. Your bigger number on top is if it hits 220 or higher, you're supposed to go to a doctor immediately. If the lower number hits 120 or above, you're supposed to go to the doctor. Mine were both. Before I started Eleotin, I took a measurement just to see where I was at. I was at 227 over 123, and it was consistently around that range or higher. Based off of what I had at the dentist there. It was higher when I was there. I don't have those numbers in front of me, so I can't quote them exactly. I just remember it was higher. I believe it was 230, and the other number was about 219 or 129. I'm sorry. But since Eleotin tea, I've been consistently under 160 over 100. And why that's important is years ago I used to be a commercial driver, and to have a commercial license, that was the maximum, was 160 over 100. So again, my numbers aren't perfect. My last test I did 2 days ago was 148 over 97. So that is a huge drop from being over 220 and 120 to being down to where I could qualify as a commercial driver by blood pressure. My blood sugars are still too high, but that's after only 2 months of Eleotin. I'm going to be getting some more very soon, and I should be able to get that number down as well, because the limit there is also 160, just like with the blood pressure. And it's been such a night and day difference. It's difficult for me to put it into words just how much my life has been changing. I've been talking about potentially even going back to work after this, something that doctors have me on a medical hold where I'm not even allowed to. And I really have to thank everyone there that make these Eleotin products, everyone at Eastwood Biomedical. And I do appreciate on your website where you guys quote Revelation 22:2, where it says, then they will remember that I gave them the leaves to heal the nations. And these products, it's tea leaves, it's a proprietary blend with various different tea leaves and herbs and everything that they put in there. It's natural products as opposed to the chemical pharmaceuticals I was having so many side effects from. But what a difference. Thank you everyone there. Really, you're changing my life. I'm hoping that this video will help other people realize that this can help them as well. And thank you so much. God bless everyone there. Thank you. Bye.